Welcome back, guys. It's Myth here. Today I'm going to showcase my non-CP Mag DK build. We're going to start off with the skills. So these are the main skills that I run. You could change some of them out, and we'll kind of get into that later, but these are the main skills that I run. So we'll start off with Flames of Oblivion. We got Degen, Fossilize, Flame Lash, Engulfing Flames, Ferocious Leap. Back bar, we got Temple Guard, Coagulating Blood, Hardened Armor, Resolving Vigor, Cinderstorm, and Elemental Susceptibility. Now, depending, like I said, you can switch this build up a little bit, but we'll kind of get into that a little bit later, as far as like the gear and stuff like that. So, depending on what I'm running, you'll see I have certain skills, or who I'm fighting. I have certain skills that pertain to certain type of enemies. So for sorcerers or people who like to run away, who got like a speed, burst speed or whatever, I take off degen and I'll just change my pots. So this is gonna launch a Fury Chain and basically pull you towards them. There is one, the other morph I believe is it pulls them towards you, but this is the one we want because not only will it pull us towards them, but it also gives us Major Expedition and Major Berserk, increasing our movement speed by 30% and our damage done by 10% for the next 4 seconds. So if somebody is running away from you, they're probably already about to die or they're under a really lot of pressure. So this is going to help you do more damage and close that gap. Like I said, it's mainly for Sorks or maybe like a Warden or somebody that just has like a speed thing on. So let me see. Deep breath, we can change that out if you're fighting a Zerg, obviously. Or not a Zerg, but multiple group of people. You don't need this. You could switch this out, and this will kind of give you a little bit more sustain, and also it's going to do a decent amount of damage, depending on the people you're facing. So this is pretty good. Um, as far as skills, you could change corrosive armor. You could put it on your front bar or your back bar. Um, I swap this out for my back bar sometimes, or if I like the temporal guard to keep more tankiness, I'll put this on my front bar. It just all depends. Fossilize, you could put Shattering Rocks if you want more sustain, but I prefer the double stun, um, and it does the more flame damage, I believe. So all these are all our passives. I'm pretty sure we got everything in. Um, I think these are the only two that we need. The other two kind of don't really matter. We're not using dual abilities. I want to talk about this skill a little bit. This is going to give you um, really decent dot pressure on what the gear we're running. And just in general, it's just a dot. I mainly PvP in non-CP Imperial City, so if I put this on somebody, it kind of tracks them. If they try to run through a door, it's going to stop them. And it also takes away 6,000 of the resistances, so it's pretty good. Um, and then, like I said, if I am running an ice staff on my back bar, and sometimes if I switch, you could go resto if you want more sustain. Um, I would say ice staff is kind of more aggressive, even though you get that block mitigation and all that. I would definitely say that it's definitely more aggressive, and I need to max this out. It's not maxed out. So basically, the ice staff, I don't know why that wasn't maxed out. It's going to reduce the cost of blocking by 36% and increase the amount of damage you can block by 20%. Now that's a decent amount, especially in non-CP where you don't have CP points. Every little bit of mitigation you can get is worth it, especially if you're getting Zerg down or something like that. It's definitely worth it. Alright, so now we're going to get into the race, Mundus, food, and potions that I use. So we are an Imperial. The reason why I chose Imperial is because for me it's kind of one of the most all-around type of races you can kind of get, especially for non-CP. It's going to reduce the cost of all your abilities by 6%. It's going to increase your max stam by 2,000 and your max health by 2,000. So this is good for mag, it's good for stam, and it's going to give you an extra 2,000 health, a little bit more health, a little bit more tankiness, extra stam. So if you're stamina tuned, you got more damage. You can block more. For if you're mag or stam, you can block more too. And then it's going to reduce all your cost of your abilities by 6%, which is really important, especially in non-CP. where sustain is kind of an issue. Um, so this is really good. And then we'll go into the Mundus attributes. 64 all into Magicka. You could, if you want a little bit more health, you could put more into health. Actually, I don't think I have food on right now, so this is not my. These are not my stats. I don't think I have food on. We have the Atronach Mundus, mag recovery. This just kind of worked out the best for me. Or Magicka, we're gonna need that mag recovery, like I said, especially in non-CP. You need that sustain, so mag recovery basically is a must. And then also I wanted to talk about, you don't see vampire here, and there's a reason for that. A lot of people are vampires because it gives you that passive, that undeath passive, where once you lower your health, you get more mitigation. Now that is good, but the build I have here is basically to counter vampires, and also if you're fighting other Dragonites that are vampires, you'll have a little bit more edge on them. Since one, you aren't a vampire, so you don't take more flame damage, and two, the sets that I'm running that we'll get into a little bit later. As far as the food, so I'll go into that because I don't even have food on right now. So for food, it depends on your playstyle, depends on what you like. If you want to be a little bit more tanky and have a little more max resource, you could go with the Bewitch Sugar Skulls, and that's going to bring our max mag to 32k, max health to 28, and max stam to 24. Resistances, like I said, we're not buffed, so this is kind of give or take. The recovery, we're not buffed, so this will be a little different. It's not great. It's not going to be great. It's going to be non-CP, so it's not going to be like amazing, but you could use Clockwork Citrus Fillet. That'll kind of boost up your mag recovery. You lose out on a little bit of stam, but even if we're using this, we still have almost 20k stam. That's pretty good. That's pretty standard. Pretty solid. Okay, now we're gonna get into the sets that we're using. All of these are pretty much old sets. You can probably buy them on the auction house for cheap, or you could farm them. First set we're using is Silks of the Sun. Now this is going to give you critical chance, a line of max mag, 127 weapon spell damage, and then another 396 weapon spell damage to your flame damage abilities. Now that us being Dragonknight, pretty much all of our abilities are going to be flame damage. So I'll go back to the skills and I'll show you the reasons why I run the skills that I run. But sword, Nirnhone, back bar, we're running sharpened, and we got a mace. Now notice the glyphs, got Nirnhone here, sharpen here, shock, and flame enchant. Back bar, we got the ice staff. Like I said, this is pretty good. And also it allows us to use that ability to take away 6,000 resistances of our enemy and puts a decent dot, and it's going to give us more block mitigation. But like I said, you could run a resto staff if you want, if you need more sustain or better healing. I would say resto staff is probably a little bit better, but I use the ice staff. It works pretty good for me. This is where you can change the build up a little bit if you want. I run Dama House. Basically, it's going to give me an extra line of max mag and stam. Now, you could go with recovery, or you could go more damage. This is just what I like to use, so I got Dama House on my build. The second set we're running is Innate Axiom. Now, this is a crafted set, so you could craft this. Fairly easy to get. What it's going to do is 129 weapon and spell damage, 1096 max mag, 1096 max stam, 657 critical chance, and then 400 weapon and spell damage to our class abilities. So this is going to buff all of our abilities that are class abilities, and pretty much we're using all class abilities. The only class ability we're not using is Vigor, and if you are running the Destruction staff ability, then obviously those two abilities don't count, but pretty much all our abilities are going to get 400 weapon spell damage. This is going to burst our heal, this is going to burst our damage, and it's really strong. So we got well fitted, reinforced, well fitted, all max tri-stat enchants because it's non-CP. You're going to need every little bit you can get. Well fitted, reinforced, well fitted. Got 3 heavy and 1, 2, 3 medium, 1 light to get that passive from the Undaunted. On the jewelry, we got reduced cost, and I'll explain that in a second. This should be 2 reduced costs. You don't need 3. One of these should be damaged. You can either go damage for this one, or you can just put damage on one. One of these should be damaged. I don't know why they're all reduced magicka costs. And this is also too where you can change it. So if you don't like Malakath and you would rather that inconsistency of having crit damage and maybe sometimes doing more damage, you could go with the Mark and Ring of Majesty. I use the Malakath because it's just more consistent damage, so it's going to increase our damage done by 16%. So we'll have more consistent damage, and that's good for our dots, that's good for our whip and all that. But you could switch that out for Markin, and basically what this will do is give you 200 weapon and spell damage and another 2,314 armor. So this is also another really good option if you do want that crit. And that's all it for the gear. I will go back to the skills just really quickly. So with the Silk of the Sun, if you see right here, we get out of 6%, we get 5% of this value. So once I use this ability, all flame damage is going to have 6% more, or sorry, 5% more bonus damage. So this is going to buff our Flame Lash, this is going to buff our Flames of Oblivion, and it's also going to buff our ultimate. So basically, the Dragonknight, and it'll buff this too. So like I said, it just all depends on what you're using. It'll buff this, and this will do an insane amount of damage. And it's really good against vampires. Like I said, if you're fighting a vampire, you're doing flame damage. With this, you're getting bonus damage because you're doing flame damage to them and they're a vampire, and then you get this 5% extra bonus damage. It's gonna really hurt. So this is kind of just the best I found because a lot of people run vampire even in non-CP because it is really good, but against the DK that's running flame damage, you're gonna run into some problems. That's all I got for you guys today. Try the build out. Let me know if you like it.